Well, unfortunately, young people in neighborhoods like this aren't taught respect the way they should be. They're taught respect through violence. You acquire respect by being physically violent towards other people. The more violent you are, the more respect you have.
Mario earned the reputation as a tough street fighter, but his neighborhood was 80% African American. And as a Latino youth, Mario didn't feel like he fit in. He couldn't relate to his parents either. So at age 12, Mario ran away from home. He hung out on street corners and quickly learned the fine arts of robbery and drug use. By age 14, the gangs wanted him to recruit members and sell drugs to those his own age. The gang became Mario's entire life.
Everything I thought about, everything I believed revolved around the gang. Broke off communication with my family totally. They had taken on the place of my mother, my father, my brothers, and my whole life revolved around them.
Then his family betrayed him. Mario had just pocketed several thousand from a robbery.
When I awoke, my money was stolen. And the people that were at the party that were all part of my gang or part of my clique, they had all left. The only one left was a gang leader that had fallen asleep and the owner of the house. I went to check my pockets because they told me the party's over, you know, everybody left. And I seen that I had been robbed. Really saddened me to find out that what I had been taught and everything was not real.
Mario withdrew from the gang. By age 20, he'd become a serious drug addict.
I was hiding. I was running away from the fact that I had tried to find myself in the gang and I wasn't able to. And now I was left with nothing.
He tried to fill the void inside with his girlfriend, Maria, but his gloom and anger made her the victim. Mario was possessive, controlling, and abusive.
He was so violent, and he had hit me, you know, more than a few times. He started slapping me and punching me, and he threw me out of the car in the middle of like a really busy street.
The fear drove Maria to church, and when she started going every night, Mario became insanely jealous. He accused her of having an affair with the pastor, forbidding her to go to church again.
He told me straight up. He goes, if this keeps on, he goes, it's gonna get really violent, and I'm gonna end up killing you. He told me, if you go, I'm gonna go to church, I'm gonna kill the pastor, and I'm gonna kill you.
Maria ignored the threat and left for an all-night prayer meeting. Mario couldn't handle the idea of church on a Friday night.
I lost my mind. I went in a rage. Grabbed a gun, figured I was gonna go in there and just start shooting people. And but then I thought about it. I said, no, you know, they're always talking about blood and redemption. And you know, when I've gone there, I'd heard the message of the cross. I said, I'm just gonna stab this pastor right on the altar and make him my sacrifice, you know?
Meanwhile, inside the church, the pastor had a miraculous word of knowledge.
Holy Spirit is telling me that through those doors, there's a spirit that wants to enter. We need to bind the spirit that wants to enter here, because that spirit is a spirit of murder.
He goes, I feel from the Lord that there's a spirit of murder. He said, and I'm gonna ask all of you to pray.
With that, the pastor dispatched prayer warriors to the front door of the church to pray away the spirit.
I was praying, and I noticed at one point some of the brothers praying by the door, and they couldn't see outside because it was a wooden door. There was no glass, so they couldn't see, and they were praying fervently by the door.
I ran out of my car, and when I got to the church door in a rage and I tried to open it, I was physically restrained by an unseen force. I felt a power that was restraining me from going inside the church, and I knew that it was something supernatural that was happening to me. Therefore, I said, wow, you know, my girlfriend's God is real. She serves a real God. And I just stood there for a few minutes, and I couldn't actually open the door of the church. So I walked back to my car, and I just sat inside, and all of a sudden I was calm.
Stunned by this powerless feeling, Mario waited in his car for Maria to come out. He didn't realize it was an all-night service. Now all he wanted to do was to talk to her, find out why she was so drawn to this church. He turned on the radio and happened upon a local pastor who sounded like he was talking right to Mario.
The pastor said that God had a plan and a purpose with my life, and that was the only reason that I was actually still alive, having been put in the dangerous situations that I have been involved in all my life. And it really got me thinking. And then he asked another question. He said, why do you hate this pastor? Why do you hate the pastor so much? Why do you hate God? What has God done to you? Just like that. And then he said, if anything, he's given you life, and he's given it to you more abundantly. And at that point, he said, if you want to pray, it doesn't matter where you're at, just bow your head and say this prayer with me. And I bowed my head and I said that prayer in that car.
So, right there in his car, Mario gave his life to Jesus Christ. His attitude changed quickly.
All of a sudden, on the inside, I felt peace. And the only way I could explain what I felt was that I wasn't worried anymore. I didn't feel, before I was always looking over my shoulder. Every single person that I came across, I felt it was like someone that I had done harm to. Until that point, actually in the car, it just began. I felt peace. And I knew that if anything happened to me, if anything happened, that I would go to heaven. I knew that.
At the end of the service, Mario was shocked to see Mario at the front door.
He was just so serene and so calm that I was astonished. I was, what is going on?
Mario explained what had happened and promised Maria that he would start living for God.
My whole attitude changed. My new desire now was to please God and to serve Him. And the more I started attending church, the more I started learning about Him, and eventually wanting to tell others where I had come from.
Mario proved that his conversion was real. He married Maria, got a full-time job, and earned his high school diploma. Over the next 6 years, Mario started his own Hispanic ministry and a special outreach to gang members called the Jesus Disciples. Through Mario's influence, hundreds of hardened gangsters have transformed their lives. In fact, the Miami Herald calls Mario the Pat Robertson of Miami's ganglands.
I was a runaway from the age of 12, involved in gang life basically my whole life. And probably the worst point of my life, when I was down and out, didn't believe in anybody. Jesus showed me His mercy, came into my heart and totally turned me around.